Hey, Sports Beat, Eddie Fitz here. And for the first time in a long time, there is playoff basketball in the fall. The bubble has been a major success for the league and has captured some of the best hoops of the year. And here to break down the last 8 teams in their road to the O'Brien, JJ Beale and Danny D join us today. How are we feeling? New semester, playoff basketball, couldn't be better. JJ, how you doing today?
I mean, I'm doing great. We're getting adjusted classes and everything, and there's no better place to be than on a panel with Eddie Fitz.
Oh, man. Danny.
Yeah, Hofstra's been great, really adjusted well, and I'm happy to be in the studio.
Oh, man, what a great compliment to start out this series. But, guys, I want to get into brass tacks a little bit. Get down to brass tacks. The Bucks have been eliminated from the playoffs. The Miami Heat have taken them out. They punched their ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals. Was this a situation where the Bucks basically let a series get away from them? Or was this a series where the Heat just played true to their name and they caught fire at the right time? JJ?
Well, the series came down to bench play, Eddie. And I think we saw this in the game yesterday where it was the Bucks took a controlling first quarter lead. And then right after that, Heat bench came in and they shut the game down. Tyler Hero was a net plus 37 yesterday, and that was the difference.
I mean, you got to look at Miami's shooting. They really were offensively elite. Effective field goal percentage, which takes into account the idea that threes are worth more. Miami shot 55% against Indiana and Milwaukee. Milwaukee only shot 50% against the Heat, which is actually a paltry number when you take into account the effective threes. Not even to mention their defense, which Jay Crowder, my goodness, held Chris Middleton, an all-star player, to 41% from the field, 33% from three. Miami was just killer on that end.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, Danny, because when you're paying a max contract player like Chris Middleton to be your Scottie Pippen, and then he gets locked up by Jay Crowder. Granted, he's a veteran. He's an NBA guy who's been there, who knows the tough roads of the playoffs, but so does Middleton, right? Is Middleton the guy? Is this Milwaukee Bucks team enough, Danny, to make it and win a ring?
Honestly, no, and it doesn't even start with trading Middleton. I think the Milwaukee Bucks should seriously start considering trading Giannis Antetokounmpo. I know, it's crazy, but think, for the last 2 years, he's choked in the playoffs. He's not a three-point threat. He can't hit free throws, and his game is so predictable it hurts the Bucks on offense. Think about it. If you trade him now, you're not going to lose out in free agency. You don't put yourself into a ring or bust scenario if you bring in Chris Paul on a $38 million deal, and you probably get a really, really good package with young players. You keep Budenholzer, and you can keep Middleton around to keep the Bucks competitive.
I think you saw Giannis' comments after the game yesterday saying that he can't imagine playing anywhere else other than Milwaukee. And so if Giannis wants to stay, I think you let him stay and you build around him. I mean, he's the best player in the league.
Yeah, he is the MVP for all intents and purposes. But I do want to shift things over to this Celtics-Raptors series. Celtics, they have a chance to bring it home, get back to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2018. And what more do they need to do? And if they lose in the Eastern Conference Finals or the Finals, has this season been up to expectations to you, JJ, as a Boston Celtics fan?
Well, this series is night and day from last year. I mean, after Kyrie and the fiasco last year, seeing Kemba Walker come in and the team just gel and come together has been something that's been fun to see as a fan. And as far as this season goes, they will go as far as Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart take them.
I mean, Boston's such a balanced team, top 5 in the league on both offense and defense. Kemba Walker, think about the biggest contribution with Kemba Walker is what he's not giving them, high usage. Kyrie Irving, 33% usage rate. Kemba Walker, only 27%. That lets Tatum jump to the next level. Now, he was a borderline MVP candidate in the middle of the year. Boston is just a very, very well-coached, disciplined team that can do it all on both ends. Even if they lose, they're still in a good position.
Now, speaking of another well-coached team and that former Coach of the Year, I think 2-time Coach of the Year, Nick Nurse now, who has been phenomenal for Toronto. They lose Kawhi Leonard. They are the NBA champions. Now what? Was this season good enough? Because Fred VanVleet is on his way out. He's got another year of his deal left, I believe, before he has to make that decision. Could be this year. And then you also have Pascal Siakam about ready to get some money. This team is just a very nice overall team, but they don't have the guy. So, JJ, the question that I'm asking you is, should Masai Ujiri and this Toronto Raptors organization steady the ship and wait till they can find a guy and keep this roster, a championship roster, or is it time to blow it up, find that next guy in the draft?
Well, I think this was their run it back year. I mean, you saw they won a championship last year. They kept everybody but Kawhi, basically. And so this was their run it back year. And maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. We don't know that for sure yet. But right now, I think you have to look at the team overall and think that this is not a championship team.
I mean, they're not a championship team, but they're more than good enough to keep on improving. You only got 3 guys over 30, Lowry, Gasol, and Ibaka. The rest of their core, Powell, Boucher, OG, Van Vliet, they're all, young guys. They can keep getting better. And Siakam, listen, he's struggling in the playoffs this year, but this is a guy who averaged 20 points in the NBA Finals, NBA Most Improved Player. The sky's the limit for him. If he just finds his jump shot, I mean, he could become the next Kawhi Leonard if he really puts in the work.
No, I totally agree with you there, Danny. I think that this team should probably just steady the course. Let's run it back. Let's see what happens. But now I want to shift out west a little bit, where the Clippers and Nuggets have been very, I want to say competitive, but it's almost not really. The Clippers have been very, very good. Have been very, very good in this series, and that has brought a lot of questions towards this Nuggets team. Are they a regular season team, JJ? Because this is the second year in a row where they have not necessarily impressed in the later rounds of the playoffs.
I think this is absolutely a regular season team. I don't think they have the pieces to really make a championship run, especially in the ultra-competitive West. I mean, Jamal Murray is their only facilitator on the offensive end. They need somebody to get the ball to Jokic, and that's what Jamal Murray can do. But other than that, they don't have the pieces to really make a run.
The problem isn't they're not good. The problem is that their surroundings are so much better. I mean, when you're playing the Clippers so deep, so talented, with 2 unbelievable all-star players, I mean, what more can you do? But I will say this, Murray has become a 27 points per game scorer in the playoffs. We saw Michael Porter Jr. improve in the playoffs. And Jokic is finally shooting threes at a 48% clip. Not to mention, I think he's the best center in the NBA, and he's by far the best post passer in the NBA. He's the facilitator the Denver Nuggets can rely on. I feel like they're just a victim of, they're in the West. They play against really tough teams. They have the pieces, but when you match up against Kawhi and Paul George, there's only so far you can go.
Now, that is just a case of a good team being in the bad place at the wrong time, especially when you are this Nuggets team. But somebody who has not been shooting very well recently has been Paul George in that Mavericks series. He was absolutely abysmal. Clippers fans putting a petition out there to have him sent to the EuroLeague, calling him PG 13%. Has this series changed your mind on Paul George at all? Has he improved or I guess lessened in the rankings for you guys in terms of a playoff performer?
Well, I think we see Paul George at his best when he plays second fiddle to Kawhi. And as long as he works from the inside out and sees some mid-range and some layups going before he steps behind the arc, that's when the Clippers play their best basketball.
Yeah, they definitely got to get George going. Easy shots first, because if you watch Game 3, he had 32 points. The way they got him going early was driving to the hoop, easy mid-range shots, spot-up threes, and then in the second and third quarter when the Clippers started to pull away, he was pulling up from 3 in transition. He was leading the fast break. Once he gets that little bit of a rhythm, Paul George is one of the best offensive players in the NBA. He's averaging 24 points per game on 50% shooting in this series. He's back. Playoff P is back.
Playoff P is back. Now I want to get over to this last series that we have, and I think it's fair to say that nobody expected the Rockets-Lakers series to be as close as it has been. But Harden, Westbrook, and Gordon all combined for 83 points in a Game 1 victory. Then LA storms back, takes Game 2, and then Game 3. Who has been more impressive? Has it been this Rockets team, this underdog, or has it been the Lakers just playing impressive playoff basketball?
I mean, I think when we see the Lakers try and put forth their effort, there's no way that can beat them, especially this measly team. I mean, playoff round is a different animal. LeBron and AD are both playing well off each other. I don't think there's any way the Rockets can come back in this series.
I mean, we are watching LeBron actively become a scorer. He had 29 points in the first half. That was surreal, hitting step-back threes, fallaways. He was in rhythm. And you got to remember, guys, the most important and impressive thing I've seen from the Lakers is how well they've adjusted to running Davis at center. With Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee not getting minutes, Davis being the one big on the floor, it's been incredible for the LA lineup because he's just gobbling up rebounds. When you have Davis dominating down low like that, against a team that obviously is very weak against that, I mean, it's so impressive how he adjusted after that Game 1 struggle, and now he's dominating.
All right, guys, before we end things today, everybody wants to know at home, Last, real quick, just say the team name. Who do you think is winning the NBA Finals? JJ first.
The Los Angeles Clippers.
LA Lakers.
And I am also going to join Danny in the LA Lakers vote. Well, that wraps it up here. Thank you, JJ and Danny, for joining me.